want you gone by sunrise." "What? Mr. Roper? Why?" "I saw you," Stanley yelled, his voice echoing through the hallway. "I looked through the window of the sedan. I saw you on the sofa with my niece. You were acting normal. You were looking at her like she was a steak and you were a starving man. That's a betrayal. Jack, that's sick." Jack panicked. If Stanley thought he was straight, the entire living arrangement would crumble. He'd be on the street, and Jana and Chrissy would be left without a roommate. "Mr. Roper, wait, it's not what you think." Jack scrambled. "She attacked me. It was a terrifying experience. I was a victim of her New York aggression. I showed no interest at all. I was thinking of the Andrews sisters the entire time." Karen stepped out from the hallway behind Stanley, looking slightly embarrassed but playing along. "It's true, Uncle Stanley. He's completely immune to me. I practically threw myself at him, and he just talked about sofals. I feel like I'm over the hill." Stanley paused, his anger deflating like a punctured balloon. He looked at Jack, then at his beautiful niece. Over the hill. At 22. He sighed, patting Jack on the shoulder with a look of profound pity. "Sorry, son. I guess I forgot about your unique perspective. You're a good boy, Jack. A weird boy, but a good one." As the Ropers left, Jack sank into the couch, utterly exhausted. He was still in the apartment. Jana had her heirloom back, and his reputation as the safest man in Santa Monica was, for better or worse, still intact. Chapter 5. Nitrogen Monoxide Children, Nitrogen Monoxide Pets. The peace in apartment 201 was never destined to last for more than a few days at a time. It was a week later when Jack's friend, Honest Larry, a man who lived his life in the gray areas of the law and the used car market, arrived at the door with a mysterious cardboard box. "I can't take it back, Jack," Larry said, backing away before Jack could even greet him. "The litter is gone. My landlord found out I was keeping them in the trunk of a '68 Mustang. This is the last one." From the box, a pair of floppy, velvet ears and two soulful brown eyes emerged. It was a puppy, a small, shivering, an utterly irresistible ball of fur. "No," Jana said firmly the moment she stepped through the door and saw the creature on the coffee table. "Absolutely not. I am putting my foot down. Rule number 1 of the lease, highlighted in red by Stanley himself. No children, no pets." "But look at her," Chrissy squealed, already scooping the dog into her arms and burying her face in its fur. "She needs a home. Jana, look at those eyes. They're like little chocolate puddles of sadness. If Roper finds out we're on the street," Jana reminded them, her voice a mix of logic and desperation. "And Jack, you owe Larry $25. How is taking a dog giving him the business?" "I told him if I took the dog, the debt was canceled," Jack explained, trying to sound like a shrewd businessman. "It's an asset swap. very sophisticated. The dog, whom they named Little Girl, became the apartment's biggest and loudest secret. They developed a complex system of hiding her in the bathtub behind the curtain, in the kitchen cabinets, and under Jack's bed. But secrets, especially those with fur legs and a high-pitched bark, have a way of making themselves known. Stanley Roper, whose ears were finely tuned to any sound that might constitute a lease violation, began to haunt the hallway like a ghost in a checkered vest. "I hear something, Helen," Stanley told his wife as they sat in their living room. "A whistling, a crying, like a tiny, four-legged ghost is haunting the upstairs unit." "It's your conscience, Stanley," Helen said, not looking up from her magazine. "It's crying because you're so cheap you won't even buy me a new toaster. Or maybe it's just the wind whistling through the cracks in the walls you refuse to fix." Chapter 6: The Sleepwalker. The stress of the dog, combined with a demanding boss at work who seemed to have more hands than an octopus, triggered an old childhood habit in Chrissy: sleepwalking. One night, Jack was jolted awake by a soft thump in the living room. He stepped out of his bedroom to find the front door wide open and Chrissy, dressed in a flimsy, white nightgown, wandering toward the stairs with a blank, glassy expression. "Chrissy, Chrissy, wait!" He followed her down the stairs, trying to stay as quiet as possible. She wandered out into the courtyard, the moonlight silvering her hair, her bare feet patting softly on the concrete. Jack managed to steer her back toward the stairs just as Stanley Roper decided that 3 a.m. was the perfect time to check the weather. "Helen, Helen, get up," Stanley hissed, pressing his face against the glass. "The blonde is walking around half naked in the courtyard. It's a bohemian revolution." "Did you call the police, Stanley?" Helen asked, joining him with a yawn. "No. I'm watching to see if she needs a witness or a sweater." Jack managed to get Chrissy back into the apartment and tucked into bed without her ever waking up. But the next morning, Stanley was at their door before the coffee had even finished brewing. "You tell your roommate to get dressed before she goes for a moonlight stroll," Stanley warned, his eyes darting around the room for signs of the ghost. "This is a decent neighborhood. We have standards, mostly." But the dog was becoming an even bigger problem. Mrs. Roper came by later that afternoon to borrow a cup of milk, and the puppy chose that exact moment to start scratching frantically at the kitchen door. "What was that sound, Jack?" Helen asked, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "That?" Jack scrambled, his mind racing. "That was the beef bourguignon. It's a very active stew. It's fermenting. The yeast is very aggressive this year." "Since when does the scratch at the door?" "It's a French recipe," Jack said desperately, waving his hands. "They like their food to have spirit, to fight back. It's part of the culinary experience." In a moment of pure, unadulterated panic, Jack ended up giving the active stew which was actually a bowl of high-protein dog